Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to my occasionally annual Best and Worst Films of the Year list. I seen 33 films in 2025, a pretty low amount, I admit, considering how many I managed to see when I started doing these lists. As a result, I'm not even going to bother with a Worst Of list or even a Dishonourable Mentions because I just didn't see enough films to make it worth your while. So with that out of the way, let's get to the best of the best from 2025, starting with number 10, F1. I'm not a Formula 1 fan by any means, but what films like this, The Smashing Machine and The Iron Claw prove is that it's not the sport in question that's important, it's the human drama that makes it so universal. Of course, the racing sequences are incredible, beautifully composed, kinetic, and with high stakes involved, but the film also shines in its quieter moments, as our lead laments how his life has turned out, but without things becoming saccharine or depressing. And he's able to impart wisdom on someone who starts out as a rival, but becomes a friend and protege as the story progresses. The film even gives a character arc to a member of the pit crew, demonstrating that lessons and personal growth are not exclusive to the main players. If you want the full effect, see it on the biggest screen possible. You won't regret it. Number 9, Frankenstein. So, with the countless adaptations of this story that we've seen over the years, are we calling this one Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein or just Frankenstein? Anyway, this is a long-time passion project for Del Toro, just like Nosferatu was for Robert Eggers, and it shows in every frame. He's always been fantastic at making the sick and twisted look oddly beautiful and compelling, and there's few better canvases for that than one of cinema's most famous monsters. Jacob Elordi, so buried in makeup that he's almost unrecognisable, gives one of the best depictions of the monster I can remember. Shy and terrified, beaten down by the world and by those who should be protecting him, but with a great capacity for love, learning and forgiveness. It's a long film, but it covers a lot of ground, and when it's over it truly feels like you've gone on the quest with the monster himself and learned the lessons he has. A spectacular film from an equally spectacular director. Number 8, The Assessment. Here's one you may have missed, a sharp and biting satire of parenthood, the lengths people are willing to go to achieve it, and the human tendency to give up certain freedoms and rights in order to live a safe and secure but ultimately bland and regimented existence. Highlighted perfectly by what I can only refer to as the dinner scene, which is a masterclass in domestic awkwardness. It's an acting showcase for our three leads, and it's the kind of film that plays ridiculous moments completely straight and pulls it off. If you like a bit of quirky weird as much as I do, then this is definitely one for your watch list. Number 7 is Roofman. One of those based on a story so ridiculous it has to be true scenarios. Roofman's success rests largely on Channing Tatum's shoulders, relying on his charm, wit and affable likability to make you believe what you're seeing. The film's tone switches frequently from comedy to pathos and back without ever feeling jarring or out of place, and credit to the filmmakers for taking us so deep into the lead's personal life, rather than just being a juvenile finger wag at the many mistakes he's made. Even if the outcome is a foregone conclusion, it's a sequence of events that will hit you right in the feels. All I can say is, thank you Jeffrey Manchester, you accidental genius. Number 6, Companion. Just like The Assessment, Companion is a movie that I didn't feel got the attention it warranted, which is weird because barely a day went by in 2025 without someone mentioning the looming threat of AI, how it was going to destroy the world, enslave humanity, or take our jobs. There's never a dull moment in Companion, with a lean and mean runtime, few characters, and only a handful of locations. Sophie Thatcher, one of this generation's scream queens, gives a performance that ranges from naive innocence to vengeful rage, and she seems just as comfortable with either. It addresses the problems that come about when a person believes the world owes them something, and that any problem or difficulty they face in their life must automatically be someone else's fault. For a directorial debut, it demonstrates extreme confidence and maturity. Remember the name Drew Hancock and expect to see him on future lists. Number 5, Bring Her Back. And now for the obligatory A24 entry on my best of the year list. The Philippou brothers made quite the splash with 2023's Talk to Me, probably the best film of that year, and they followed it up with Bring Her Back. The supernatural element might not be explored as well this time around, but we still have the fractured family dynamic, the fraught emotionality, and the compelling antagonism that made their debut such a treat to experience. I always love when such a transparently friendly performer plays a villain, and Sally Hawkins has never been more sinister than she is here. It's a story that explores the often self-destructive nature of grief and, as depicted in Pet Sematary, how a person is capable of the most horrific things if it's in the name of a loved one. The directors are 2 for 2 so far, so let's see what wonderful madness they have in store for us next. Number 4, Warfare. War films come in all shapes and sizes, but the most interesting ones are those that focus on the psychological damage rather than the big, bombastic action sequences. Classics like All Quiet on the Western Front, Das Boot, and Apocalypse Now demonstrate the dirty and ugly realities of life in a war zone, and now we can add warfare to that illustrious list. In fact, by my count, only a single person is seen getting shot in the movie, and even that's treated like a throwaway moment. The direction and cinematography create an atmosphere that's hot and uncomfortable, and the pared-back, jargon-laden dialogue puts you right into the mind of a soldier under attack, pinned down with little chance of escape. It makes superb use of its brief runtime and, just like Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, it'll have you wincing and ducking every time you hear a gunshot. If you're after a war film that'll keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time, then Warfare is exactly what you're looking for. Number 3, John Candy, I Like Me. Few actors were as universally beloved during their lifetime as John Candy. As the opening of this documentary states, Candy, much like pro wrestling's Owen Hart, was the kind of person you could talk about for hours without having a single negative thing to say about them. Through archive footage, film and TV clips and interviews with those who knew him best, the documentary will show you exactly why that is. The photos, videos and personal stories paint the picture of a man who reached the heights of adoration and popularity, but his lovable personality and million-dollar smile hid a wealth of trauma and insecurities that are truly heartbreaking when you know how they came about and what they ultimately led to. If you somehow don't know who John Candy is or are keen to learn more about his life, then I Like Me is either a perfect introduction or a heartfelt tribute, depending on how you approach it. Rest in peace, you absolute legend. Number 2 is A Real Pain. Every now and then a performance comes right out of nowhere and blows you away. Such is the case with Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain. In fact, if you know about the film at all, it's likely because of his performance, which won him a very well-deserved Oscar. Jesse Eisenberg weaves a story from his personal life, rooted in history and ancestry, and the result is a film that's finely observed, emotionally powerful, and wholly unpretentious. Culkin plays a man who's not bad per se, just deeply damaged with a hidden temper that frequently bubbles to the surface, spouting his opinions as if they were cold hard facts and chastising anyone living in a manner he deems unsuitable, as if he has no filter whatsoever. He's complemented by Eisenberg as his on-screen cousin, a man with an entirely different outlook and sensibilities. The story and the events are really just a launching pad for a rich and detailed character study, and when the film ends, you're left with several lingering questions. Simple tales with complex characters are often the best, and A Real Pain, for me, was one of the finest of the year. And finally, at number 1, it's Memoir of a Snail. In an age of ever-improving computer technology and studios trying to outdo each other to produce the best-looking animated film, it's great to see stop motion as an art form that remains popular despite the ridiculous amount of effort that goes into it. Memoir of a Snail is a glorious tragicomedy, one you could easily compare to Charlie Kaufman's Anomalisa, where stop motion is used to tell a very mature and adult story full of all the highs and lows that life throws at us, with particular focus on the lows. I love offbeat, sardonic humour, and writer-director Adam Elliott packs in a metric ton of sight gags and jokes dripping in irony. It's a heartwarming and heartbreaking journey through the life of a loner, someone who shuts themselves away to escape the horrors of the world, and as a result they never get to experience its countless wonders. It's a sheer delight for the eyes and the mind, but honestly, it could be at the top of this list for no other reason than it contains the line, "For the first time in my life, I feel older than I look, and I look like a testicle." And for that, I say thank you very much, Memoir of a Snail, my favourite film of 2025. So that's the end of my list. What were your favourites and least favourites? I'm hoping to see more films released in 2026, so hopefully I'll have a best and worst of list for you when we finish our next trip around the sun. Keep an eye on my channel for more film reviews and whatnot. See you all again soon. Bye for now.